But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. And one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And he said to him, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets. That's a passage from Matthew 22. Y'all, this is Kingdom Commerce. I'm your host, Cooper Peterson. And today we will be interviewing Travis Smith, serial entrepreneur, VIP Waste Services, Teeny Logistics. If y'all been following the show for any period of time, you've seen him go into in detail his experiences with those two companies on some of our previous episodes. But today we're going to talk a lot about business partners. We're going to talk about delegation. But most importantly, one of the things that I took from today's episode is what is our posture towards others? And I believe Matthew 22 in this passage sums it up well. Love God, love others. Those are the main things that we need to look for as we're entrepreneurs. Showing up filled up, showing up with the outlook to give and without even seeking anything in return. This is Christian entrepreneurship, and God, I believe, is going to use entrepreneurship and has used entrepreneurship to be a vessel for his glory. This is Kingdom Commerce. I hope you all enjoy the conversation with Travis Smith. Without further ado, let's dive right in. We're live. Yes,
All right.
sir. Tell the story. Tell the story you were telling offline.
Yeah, this is just funny. I don't know if anybody's getting any value out of it, but I'm showing up to the board meeting for the School of Business at Cedarville, and just got a new suit, a new blue suit, nice Calvin Klein, really nice suit. So got it tailored and everything. So I get dressed that morning, put the red tie on,
Nice.
and I'm like, I got to be on time this year because I'm always late to this meeting, right? I'm an hour away, but I find a way to be 30 minutes late every time. But so I was like, this year I'm going to be early. So I get to Cedarville early, like at 7:30. This meeting starts at 8. I get to Cedarville. I get out of my car, and as I'm walking into the building. As I'm about to walk into the building, I pass by another car, and I see my reflection, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? Dude, I had put on a black suit instead, instead of a blue suit. And my whole outfit was tailored. Like I had my cuff, I had my tie tailored to a blue suit.
Oh, my.
Man, I couldn't believe it, bro. So I'm like, what am I going to? So I literally run back to my car, and I called my mom for. I was just like, yo, you won't believe what I just did. I
So
was
was it
literally
blue
about,
pants and a black suit top?
bro. You know how you wear a black suit? I had a red tie on, bro, with a black suit. Like it was the goofiest looking.
Hey, when I saw you in the black, so was this the different than when I saw you a couple weeks ago when you
No,
were in
this is the
black?
exact same day. I had to change my outfit. I had to go. I left. I was about to go back home. I was like, I ain't going to the meeting. I had already came up with something to tell Heyman why I'm not going to be at the meeting. I called my mom. She's like, you can't do that. You got to go buy some shoes and like, switch the suit up or something. Like switch it up to
So
make a
what'd
black
you
suit.
do?
So I took the tie off. So I started looking. I actually looked up like black suit with brown shoes because I had brown shoes on. I think I had a blue suit on. So I'm like, can you match a black suit with brown shoes? So I go online and look. Really, you can't, but actually, you can.
Okay.
You know, so
I didn't know
actually you can.
that.
You can. You're like, nah, bro, you can't do that, right? Hey, how did I look though? I took the tie off. I had the brown shoes
Dude,
with
I
the.
thought you looked great, man.
That's what I'm saying.
You're a business professional. You had the headphone. Yeah, you're talking on the phone. You look good, man.
I told you, see.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Travis Smith, entrepreneur. He is. Sometimes in business is for people who are sometimes late to meetings. And, that's okay. As long
Yeah,
as you get it done at the end of the day.
yeah.
I
Sometimes
didn't
you
even
can.
notice.
Yeah, you can be an entrepreneur and a business owner, and you can still be late to meetings somehow. I don't know. If I can make it, anybody can.
It might catch up to you at some point, but a
Uh,
little bit more lax. If you're a doctor, you're trying to do surgery on somebody, it's a little bit different. Although when I had a surgery, my doctor was late, but I guess it turned out okay.
yeah, but I bet you waited for him though. He's your doctor. You're gonna
I
wait.
did, man. I did.
Yeah,
Well, look, Travis. Look, I'm so glad to have you on for another episode. first couple episodes were such a blast. We were at the studio at Cedarville, and
Absolutely.
you, me, and Luke was just a great time. And I wanted to have you back on for some particular things that I've just been thinking about when it comes to business. I'm a solopreneur. Have a couple things I'm working on, but I'm realizing when you're trying to juggle so many different tasks all the time, it can be kind of difficult. And so, looking here to maybe bring somebody on, and there's all the there's cost benefit analysis to it all. But when you started your first company, as we discussed in the first episode, VIP Waste Services,
Yeah.
you started that with a business partner, and he was a fellow graduate from Cedarville,
Correct.
right? And so, when you decided to start a business, that business in particular, was it an immediate, yes, I want to have a business partner, or did you even think about it, or did you just jump right into it? And what were sort of the maybe challenges and benefits that you experienced having a Christian partner and a Christian partner of faith?
Yeah. It's a great question, man. I think in so many ways we got lucky. It was just a blessing because neither me or Jesse knew what we didn't know. Like, you know what I mean? I can kind of talk about it now and break down the reasons why it worked out. But at the time, it was just like, you're my best friend, and I don't know nobody else. So let's you know what I mean?
There you
We're
go.
we're let's do it. And maybe just the Region Digest version of how it started. It came from personal need. Me and Jesse, after we graduated Cedarville, we became roommates, and in Columbus, and the trash was piling up on the balcony. It was my job to take it out, and I didn't like taking it out. So so I was looking for a company that would do it, and we couldn't find one. So it was just like, well, let's start a company that takes the trash out for folks at apartment complexes. And
A lot of great entrepreneurial stories coming out of people just solving problems that they face.
well,
And
lazy
sometimes it
people,
just takes the lazy and late. No, I'm kidding.
lazy and late, man.
I'm
Yeah.
just
So
joking.
somehow, man. But you know what's funny though? Well, you can be lazy, but it's if somebody will pay you to do it, that lazy goes
There
away
you go.
completely.
There you
But
go. Exactly. That's what you did. You hustled. You hustled for a
exactly,
while.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
And so that's more of that story is listeners is on the first or second episode we did with you back in, I think it was March, a few months ago. But so essentially, so your experience was your business partner Jesse. You guys were just friends, and you started to, it worked out. We had an episode with Joe Abraham here on the podcast, and I don't know if we talked about this last time, but he actually created a system
mhm,
for understanding your entrepreneurial DNA. It's
sure,
called BOSI, BOSI, builder. If you're a builder or you're an opportunist or a specialist or an innovator, and sort of each of those categories, it's not like an Enneagram. It's nothing like that at all, except for it helps to identify like what your strengths are as an entrepreneur.
right,
And so, builder, he just builds, and but they have different weaknesses, right? The strengths is that they get stuff done. The weaknesses is that sometimes they are known for neglecting, people's feelings. They just go in, they want to build, and they get on somebody for not doing something, and they don't even think about the other ramifications. Some people are like the innovators, where they just want to create something, but don't necessarily have the business mind to make it happen.
sure,
And so that's with each of those different components of the quadrant, people have different specialties.
right.
And so I've been trying to figure out where I land, but I'm curious, when it comes to the way that Joe put it, is that it's good to understand who you are and what your needs are, because when you're looking for a business partner, you don't really want somebody to be able to do the exact same things that you do.
Absolutely.
How's that played out? It sounds like it worked out well, but how has it played out in your business relationship with Jesse? How did you guys determine who does what? Were you guys good at the same things or different things? And how did those what do those conversations look like?
Sure. Yeah. So to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, like as far as we were concerned, like I'm more of the big idea. Like I want to market this. I want to go out and talk about it. I want to be the one to kind of like get the vision out to everybody. You know what I mean? Like I was kind of more of that guy. Jesse's more of the execution, right? Like let me sit in the
Mhm.
background and knock this out. Like you go talk to the people. You come up with some ideas, whatever. And then I'll make sure it gets executed, right? So I think a lot of that was, we piggybacked off each other's natural strengths, and I think an analysis like that, like what Joe was talking about, is valuable. But we didn't have a tool like that. We just kind of knew what each other's natural bent was. And I think a lot of that comes from we knew each other personally very well.
Mm.
So, I mean, this is my opinion, of course, but I think having a personal relationship with the business partner or the potential business partner, getting to know them, their family, their background, stuff like that really well, should be a part of that vetting process, to see if this is a good partner or not. Because quite frankly, when you're a business partnership is a lot like a marriage, and you need to
Right.
really understand who you're getting in bed with, right? And the your interests have to be aligned, your morals have to be aligned. Like you got to see
Yeah,
the world.
talk to me about like the worldview, the morals thing, because it's something I harp on a lot. But the purpose of this podcast specifically is to equip and empower Christian entrepreneurs with both practices and principles. And
Correct.
we've had some discussions before with some of the guests about should you partner with a Christian? How does the morals and the values and worldview, how does that play into the business partnership? Talk to me about, you said you knew Jesse very well beforehand. Talk to me about that. And did you guys have those conversations regarding how you're going to actually execute on the business in terms of following certain morals, or was that just understood? And what have been some of the challenges, if there have been any, in dealing with understanding how you're going to actually work the business in terms of your worldview?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really have a conversation about, hey, like we need to do this in the Christian way. We don't need to steal from people. We need to tell the truth.
That's just understood.
It's kind of yeah, you're right. It's kind of understood. If you gotta have that conversation with somebody, it's like, bro, like that's
If you have to tell somebody like let's not steal, like that's probably not a good person to be
probably not a good
partnering with.
person. Yeah. Well, but if people steal in different ways, right? You're making promises that you can't keep, and then just kind of brushing it under the rug and trying to get a deal done. Like, and that's people do that all the time, and that's a form of stealing. You know what I mean? You're stealing from your clients. You don't have their best interest at heart. In those negotiations. So I think that me and him were very clear about we wouldn't even do a deal if we knew we couldn't do it and with our clients'
Right.
best interest at heart. So that was like again, it was just normal for us.
Sure.
I think that we actually talked to a guy when we first got started. He had a successful restoration company, and we were just like, hey man, give us some advice on how you've been able to grow your business and things like that. And the best advice he gave us, some of the best advice we ever got, he was like, just do what you say you're going to do. He's like, most companies don't even do that. And if you can just do what you tell your client you're going to do, you'll set yourself apart like by a mile of most businesses. And he's like, just do that, man. Don't lie.
That's why I think Christian businesses should be, or businesses run by Christians should be the most successful, right?
Correct.
Because Christians should have that honesty and integrity to be able to follow through on that. And
Correct.
that's a very good point. Now, so you started this business, and we went through the story on how it sort of grew and things of that nature. But what was it like? Because I'm somebody personally that likes to just do you've heard the saying, if you want to do it right, just do it yourself,
Right.
right? But at some point when you're trying to scale a business, you have to bring typically somebody else on besides your partner, Jesse. What was it like? What was your thought process of bringing somebody on? Was that a challenge for you? Was that easy? And what were the things that you looked for in starting to delegate tasks so you could work? What we talk a lot about at the company I work at, Ideal Strategic Partners, is letting our partners work on the business instead of in the business, right? The
Right.
visionary, sort of what you talked about, instead of the ones slapping labels on boxes. So what was that process like of sort of allowing yourself to become the visionary and delegating tasks to others?
Sure. So you probably heard this saying: if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, bring somebody with you. So a lot. I mean, I really agree with that saying, and it holds true. Yeah, you can do it yourself, but you can't do it for long by yourself. And so for us, Jesse and I, we did it. We did do it ourselves for the first, I don't know, first 6 months, 6 months to a year or so. We were just in a truck, servicing the clients. Right. We would do our day jobs, and then we would jump in the truck at night and start picking up trash. But we knew that wasn't sustainable. So we didn't decide to bring people on or our first employee on until it got to a point that we literally could not do it ourselves. At first, we had our day jobs, right, and would do
Right.
service the little clients we had at night. Then we quit our day jobs and just only service clients and did the business stuff. And then when it got to the point where we had so many clients that we just couldn't do it anymore, that's when we decided to delegate. So it was really out of need, not really out of want. You know what I mean? It's like, well, we got too
Sure.
much business going on. Like we have to find
I mean,
somebody
yeah,
we can
human
trust to do it.
resources is expensive. It's sort of understanding, what's that like most optimized point where you bring somebody in, because at some point you have to have, working in a way that allows you to be that visionary and to see,
Right.
working on what's next, and that's the challenge that I think is difficult for people starting off, because there's a balance. Because if you bring somebody on initially, that's not always you want to see how far you can go
There you
until,
go.
as far as it makes sense, right? It's sort of like a last resort, but it's a last resort in the sense that you want to get to that point. I
Correct.
don't know if I'm explaining it in
Well,
a
it's
way that,
different for
you've
every business,
experienced.
man. You know, it's different for every person. Like, if you can't execute on your vision without bringing on help, then you just got to bring on the help. Hopefully, you got the either you're going to give them money or you're going to give them some type of equity or
Sure.
some type of compensation to bring them on. If you can't execute on the vision, but if you can execute at least, you call MVP like minimum viable product. If you can at least do the MVP and start, getting some of those things done without diluting either your money or your equity, then do that. Like, why would you bring somebody on
Sure.
before then?
Sure. Yeah, so it's the reason I asked the question is because some people, it's so hard for them to just let go and let somebody else help.
That's
And
true.
so I guess some people, it's not as hard, but that's the reason I ask.
Are you
Now,
a control freak, Cooper?
I don't think I'm a control freak, but honestly, the thought of, you created an idea, and you turned it into a business and you got rolling, and you're at the crossroads where it's like, if you're a startup, and say, you're just trying to do it as lean as possible, and you're looking to bring somebody on, you either have to start paying them or you have to give up equity, like you said. And when things are lean, you're gonna if I was to bring somebody on, it'd be more towards the equity side.
Sure.
And it's challenging, right? And maybe it's something that the Lord needs to work on my heart on, but it's hard to give up a piece of equity of something that you think that you built.
Exactly.
But it's what it's I'm reminded that, it is the Lord's business, and I think it's something that should be dealt with prayer, right?
Right.
But that's sort of my heart coming out of it, because I have I run gloves is the running glove business I've been working on, and I feel like I'm having trouble finding enough time to put into it while I'm trying to juggle everything else going on. And
Correct.
I noticed I have some weaknesses. And so I'm at the crossroads where it's like, should I give up a piece of equity? And I think I'm sort of leaning this way potentially to
Sure.
actually get it to go and to happen, because
Sure.
one of the things that a mentor said to me is it's better to have 80% of a business that's making money than 100% of a business that's doing nothing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh,
So
well,
that's
yeah, I've heard that. I mean, it said 10% of a business that's making money, than 100% of a business that's just sitting on the shelf. You know what I mean? Like, it
right.
doesn't make any sense. Actually, yeah, after we get off here, there's somebody I can connect you with who's in the athletic wear business. It's actually he used to play in the NFL, and he has
Oh wow.
a business that they created gloves to help protect the hands for running backs and
Oh
receivers and
wow.
things like that. Has like a protective shell around it and stuff like that. He has a little patent and stuff, and it was
Wow.
funny. I ran into him a couple weeks ago, and he was talking to this older gentleman. I was just like, "Oh, man," I was like, "That dude looks familiar," or whatever like that. So I went and started talking to my buddy. His name's Kenny. I started calling him Kenny, and I was like, "Kenny, that dude looks familiar. Who was that?" He was like, "That was Emmitt Smith." I was like, Emmitt Smith. He was like, "Yeah, man. They're testing. They're going to be testing my gloves out with the
Wow.
Dallas Cowboys." I was like, "That's crazy."
Wow.
So
I appreciate it. That's pretty exciting.
yeah, I can connect
How'd you
with
meet this gentleman?
Through networking, just here in Columbus. We have a private networking group that me and a number of other guys are in, and
Nice.
just really we just met through that.
No, that's a fantastic. I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's another thing that I've been trying to sort of work on. I've been getting into entrepreneurship for probably, I guess it's been a year and a half at this point. I've been really, or 2 years, I suppose, really just sort of trying to learn. I feel like I'm very young when it comes to getting the knowledge and the connections and things like that. There's the saying, your network worth is your network and
Yeah,
things of that
yeah,
nature,
yeah.
right? And at the Impact Conference, Cedarville had an Impact Conference. Yeah, that's where I saw you for one of the days. And I was speaking with a gentleman, and he gave some really interesting advice. Hopefully, I'm going to have him on the podcast here. But he said, when you're young and you're a student or a recent graduate, you can sort of get away with, taking somebody, asking, a business person or someone you look up to, take him out to lunch or coffee. And then he told me, he said, the thing I would recommend is talk to them and then ask them to introduce you to two more people that they would be willing to, that
Correct.
sort of networking. When you were, starting, and I was your degree marketing,
Yeah, business marketing.
business marketing. So you started this VIP right out a year after
A year
college,
after
or
graduation. I
so
was
you were
actually
very
a double
fresh.
major, but I didn't finish the double part. It was an information systems
Hey,
double
we don't
major.
talk about that.
Yeah, we ain't gonna talk about
No,
it.
I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
Dr. Delano's gonna kill me. He's still mad at me for not finishing.
What, you got like one or two classes left or something,
Yeah,
like,
I
hey,
had
you
like one.
still
I
got
think
it.
I had one. I had the capstone left, and I'm not coming back for another semester,
Be
bro.
like an advisor to the school and a student at the same time.
Basically, yeah.
So, anyways, I forgot what. Oh yeah, so you were in that stage. You were in that stage where you were. What was the network? Did you do? What kind of network did you do initially? Coming right out of school, you're trying to be an entrepreneur, start this business. What did that networking look like? And I know things have probably changed slightly in terms of how people network, but what would be some of the strategies that you would suggest now to people who are just starting off in the entrepreneur world?
Yeah, I mean, if you're young, that's the best time to network. I mean, youth is your advantage because people are willing to give you advice and give you help and things like that because they're just, either well, a few different things. Either they see themselves in you, right, or they just want to help. They appreciate a young guy who's trying to, who's on this grind trying to get it, right? Because a lot of people your age might, aren't, right? So I would say that the youth is your advantage. And to the guy you're talking to's point, you have a license to kind of screw up, and no one's going to really judge you for it when you're just getting started. I mean, when
Sure.
you're 40, 50, 60, years old, when you're that old and you're still screwing up, it's like people don't have a lot of grace for that, right?
So what about showing up? I mean, showing up late. This is
But they, it's okay if you make them laugh. Then I mean, it's all good.
that's a good lesson. Make them laugh.
Make them
Make
laugh,
them
or
laugh.
come in with Starbucks or donuts or
Yeah,
something.
bring some.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh man, yeah, Haman's
That's
gonna kill me
amazing.
about it. He's gonna be like, dude, stop telling people it's okay to be late.
No, I think I'd get a podcast going with you and Dr. Heyman at the same time.
Oh,
See
dude,
what
that'd
kind
be
of
great.
dynamic that would be.
Yeah, I mean something, man. He just get up and walk out. I was like, I'm done with this. I can't.
Like, see you guys, I cannot be associated.
Yeah, that'd be great
um,
content.
no, it would.
Yeah.
So okay, so VIP, you had a lot of success with that. You sold it. And then you moved on to T&E, VIP and T&E. So, yeah, I like how that
I'm
sounds. So
not
T&E,
very creative with the names, man.
hey, some people think the name really matters. I think it's more about what you actually do
Yeah,
at the end of the day. And so
right.
you guys have had some success as well with T&E. Can you just? I don't know how much we dove into T&E logistics in our previous episodes. Can you just give like a high level overview of that company and what you guys are
Sure.
up to?
Yeah. So I mean, we're a logistics company. We focus on the asset side. So like in logistics, you either have assets or you broker or facilitate deals. So we do both. So we have on the asset side, we focus on box trucks, sprinter vans, things like that, delivering final mile to customers. Final mile just basically means like to the customer, to the door, either right to the business or right to the customer. Um, so on that's what we do. So we contract with companies to essentially get freight from their warehouses and take them to the final customer. On the broker side, it's just connecting manufacturers with shippers. So if I'm a manufacturer and I need my stuff shipped regularly, then they will contact us and we'd find a truck to put it on. So it wouldn't
Sure.
be our own trucks. It would be like somebody else who has a big rig and can do it for them. We make a spread off of that. And so that's kind of the model, fairly simple. But all of it is networking, man, because on some to some level, trucking is essentially a commodity, right? They can find a
Mm,
truck anywhere
right.
essentially. But can they trust you? Do they like you? Things like that make a huge difference on how much business you're able to get in
That's a
this.
very interesting point. So, you're working in a commodity business in a sense. How what are the ways that you distinguish yourself from competitors? Is it just the networking, the people you know, or is there anything that you add on to the value that's unique from your competitors? How do you stay competitive in that space?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, pricing is important. Some people have a different mousetrap on how they can price better than other folks. That's a thing. But if you're talking to a new customer, they all have heard. They've all heard it before. Oh, we're gonna give you a better price. Oh, we're gonna get it there on time, or we're not gonna have as many incidents of losing freight. And so they every sales pitch is basically the same. Like, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like, to your point, how do you change that, right? So really, it's all about relationship and networking. Like, if you come to them with they say, listen, like, we actually do like five of your competitors we're working with already. Like, when you come with some social, you call it social proof, right? When you talk about it like social life, but this is like kind of business proof. Like,
Mm,
we're already well integrated in your industry or in your niche. So it's like, you can trust us to be able to take care of you. And in trucking, typically, people focus on niches. Like, it's hard to be good at everything because
mm,
there's
right.
so many different assets that you can be moving. So we focus mostly on dry van, and then we do a decent amount of flatbed freight. So, like, and those are completely different, man. Like, the way you price it, like, everything's different. So, trying to be an expert or go deep instead of wide is kind of how you
Sure.
differentiate yourself and say, instead of going with that company that tries to do everything, we specialize in this. So, we can do it right. We're not distracted with anything else. So that's kind of the pitch.
Yeah, one of my mentors said recently, or he says it quite a bit, but he says you don't need to know how to do everything. You just need to know somebody who knows how to do that thing,
Correct.
right? In a sense, but I feel like that's also when it comes to your business and your value proposition. It seems like from my talking to other people that it like you said, it's much better to go deep and be an expert in that space. Actually, one of the I was working when I was an environmental science major. I had an internship, and I told him that eventually I was looking to start a business and go into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I agree with his advice on this, but he said if I were you, I would just be an absolute expert in one thing. And so like he got his PhD in like geology or something. He's like one of the only guys in the world who can do his whatever he does.
Right.
But that was something that kind of stuck with me. At the moment, I was like frustrated because he's like basically told me what I was doing wasn't a good idea.
Right.
But I think there's something that's really, really valuable about what he said because if I've come to the belief that if you can do anything better, better than anyone else in the world, then you're going to be fine. You just have to
Correct.
find out what that is.
Correct.
My struggle is I feel like I have so many different interests in things,
You're a master
and
at
I
everything.
well, I don't know if I'd say that. I'm definitely not a master at
He's
everything.
like, but that's how I feel. That's how I
No,
feel.
that's not how I feel. My parents, I grew up and I think they involved me in a lot of different things. Like I was the kid that was skateboarding but also doing cross country, which is like two like not
Completely different things.
like
Yeah.
things that didn't go to like or like I studied like I loved fishing but also cross country and or like it's just like a lot of random different hobbies. And I
Right.
feel like that's sort of been how my business experience has been too. I've been trying to figure out what I was talking on the phone with somebody last night and he goes, "What are you good at?" And I was like, I feel
Everything.
like you don't know I don't know what to say in that
Mhm.
situation because I'm young and I'm trying to figure out what I'm still good at. So I guess to turn it back to you in a way, when it comes to you found a way to go deep in a specific niche in your
Sure.
company. Was that an intentional decision where you're like, I kind of, I kind of like that idea over there, but instead I know that I'm just going to really focus in on this one thing. Or
Mhm.
was it you just naturally were good at it? Because have you seen The Matrix
Of
by
course,
chance?
yeah,
Yeah, so you got like the woman in the red dress,
yeah.
right? So whatever the main character's name is, I always
Neo,
forget. Neo. So he's
yeah,
trying to like go on the mission and not be distracted in the simulation, and then he sees the woman in the red dress and he dies
correct.
in it, or like he gets the gun pulled on him or whatever it is,
Hmm.
um, because he got distracted. So I know that's a little bit convoluted, but to sort of simplify it is what was your path to going deep in that in your area and finding that niche in your market?
Yeah, so I mean, to us, it was more of a that's where the opportunity was. I mean, 'cause I'm, in some ways, an opportunity. So if I see an opportunity somewhere, I'm going to explore it, right? So we got an opportunity to work with a big company to to do that final mile piece, right? So it was like, okay, well, we're going to do it. And when we got that opportunity, it was like, now I need to become an expert at this if I want to do it well and if I want to do it for long, like, you know what I mean? So really, it's more of a situation where, I forget what the quote is, but essentially where you say, necessity is the father
Mother of
of,
invention.
yeah, father, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
like,
exactly.
I think the best inventions come out of necessity, right? So that a lot of times the best ideas come out of that. So, when I needed to become an expert at it, I became an expert at it. And then one of those things is like, well, I can go deep in this because there's a lot of business to be had here. And you don't, to your point, man, you don't really need to try to be a jack of all trades. You should know enough about a lot of things to be dangerous, in my opinion. So
I
you can be
like that.
interesting too. Like, I
Know
mean,
enough to be dangerous. Love
not have
it.
to be dangerous, but as far as like it's like trying to be an expert at everything, it's like, nah, man. Like, would you be trying to argue with your doctor? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, dude,
Depends.
yeah, yes, yeah. Actually, you do. Like, yeah,
Depends, but
depends.
you
Yeah,
know.
if he's
No, I'm
trying to
just
get you a
joking.
COVID vaccine, then yeah,
Yeah,
argue.
exactly.
Yeah,
We just got canceled.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, you would have to edit that piece out.
No, no, we're keeping it in. We're keeping it
You're
in.
keeping that in, bro. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So okay. So that's no. I appreciate that. There was somebody, and I think it might be a title of the book, I heard it recently, but it said he says everybody is in sales, and he was talking about
Oh
entrepreneurs
yeah,
as
that's
well.
good.
So, what are your thoughts on that statement?
Absolutely. I mean, you've had a girlfriend. You got a girl. I don't know if you got one now, but you probably had a girlfriend in your life, right? If you haven't, I'm getting off of here
No,
right
I
now.
actually I just got engaged.
Oh, dang, man, congrats.
So yeah, I've been working on my sales skills. So we'll see if
Exactly. So case
we'll
closed
see if
right
I
there.
can deliver. I guess.
Is that right? Yeah,
Um,
there's sales and there's execution. Now you got to execute.
right, I got to execute
Yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, so I mean, everybody's in sales. I mean, you have to sell yourself to your significant other. If you want to get a job, you got to sell yourself to the people interviewing you. Obviously,
Even networking too. You got to get people to like you,
exactly.
right? So
Well,
talk to me about that. You say you're in a private networking group and things of that nature. How do you go about what's sort of your posture that you go in as? Are
that's a
there's
good question, man.
it seems like there's a lot of different ways you could go, and you could go in as the expert. You could go in as somebody who's trying, humble, trying to learn.
Yeah,
Because of how you position yourself, it changes how people perceive you, especially in first impressions. How do I guess as a student, I would imagine you'd want to go in a very humble way.
correct.
But when you've been in the business for a while, it's one of those things that I'm trying to figure out. I was talking to a guy, he was a professional salesman. He's a successful business guy,
Uh huh.
and I just feel like he can talk circles around me. Like how Donald Trump does the weave.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
dude, heck yeah, man. I've been
he like
practicing
does the
that.
weave on me. I've been trying to he like doing the weave. You know,
I'll get back
um,
to it, but just let them cook, man. Let them cook.
just let him cook.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, man.
So I forgot that totally derailed me. But yeah, so how do you position yourself when it comes to the networking?
I think you position yourself the way you should position yourself anytime you're meeting new people, and that's to give value. Like, I'm here
Love
to
that.
give value, man. Like,
Love that.
I may not get anything out of it, but I want to be in the room and
Love
I
that.
want to give value because, this might be cliche, but I believe if you pay it forward, then it's going to come back to you in some type of way. And we don't know
People
how that's.
remember that.
What was that?
People remember the things that you do for them. I mean,
Exactly,
it's like
man.
that's uh, I think it was Dr. Oberbrunner, but he said always leave somebody with well, first he says show up filled up, and then he says always leave somebody with something.
With
You
something.
know,
Yeah,
yeah, whether it's something tangible or intangible, but like if it's a good feeling or it's not some sort of a way to like manipulate people, but
nah,
I think from a Christian perspective, it's one of the reasons I absolutely love entrepreneurship is because it is such an opportunity to bless others, right? I
absolutely.
mean, entrepreneurship, you solve a problem. And typically, it's a pain, some sort of pain point. It could be a physical pain or some other type of pain,
True.
but you're solving a real problem for somebody, and that's I think an example of God's common grace. You got medicine, you got T&E logistics, you got running gloves. It solves a
Solve
problem.
the problem.
That's why I love entrepreneurship. But
Well,
it's an opportunity to. It's not just a physical problem that you're solving, but you're also able to build relationships with people and provide value to them in other ways as well, like you were saying. And so that's something that I've been trying to think about is as a Christian, I think our entire posture should be or positioning should be a posture of giving
hmm
without expecting a return. I think that's a very biblical point of view, but like it talks about in the Proverbs, like doing the things that God tells you that we should do is actually good.
makes business sense.
It makes sense.
It
It
makes
makes
sense
sense to love
legitimately.
people. It makes
Yeah,
sense to do good things to people. And we don't do it just because of that, but it's God's common grace.
true.
And so I really appreciate that. You mentioned to me a while back, and I think this was off camera, but you told me you recommend going to Toastmasters. I think that
Absolutely.
was you, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
And so that's sort of the sales side of it because you have to be confident enough to be able to present in front of other people. What did when did you go to did you go to Toastmasters? When did you start going to that?
Well, that's a good question. I think we started VIP, and maybe it was probably 3 years or so after we started VIP. I went to Toastmasters, and again, it was out of necessity because we got asked to speak at an event, and I'm like, all right, bro, like, yeah, I'll do it. And then once they told us how many people were going to be, it's like a room of like 500, 600 people. I'm like, oh crap,
Wow.
like, like this.
Maybe I should practice.
Maybe I should practice. Yeah, maybe I
I
should
never
like.
practiced in college, but maybe
Yeah,
I should
I haven't
practice for
practiced anything
this.
my entire life. But maybe. And then I asked him, "What do I have to be on time?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh crap! Now I'm really in trouble."
You check to make sure your suits were the right colors and
Yeah,
everything.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
that was important.
Yeah, man. It was no, but it was a recycling and like green waste conference in Chicago, and they asked us to speak, and I was like, "Sure, we'll do it." But then again, it was like, "Well, I've never spoken at a crowd this big, so maybe I should be brushing up on this." And that's when I decided to find a Toastmasters group in Columbus and just start doing it. And one of those things is like I didn't know how bad I was until I got in front of the group at Toastmasters because they count how many. It's so good. It's so valuable, dude. So to anybody watching this, do it if you just do it, even if you're not in sales, do it just as a personal
Because
development.
everyone's in sales, right?
Well, everyone, that's a good
That's the
point.
point, right?
Yeah,
No,
I just contradicted everything.
no, 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 no.
But
I
yeah,
got you. It's something I haven't done yet, but it's something that I past couple months it just kind of keeps popping in my mind. Like,
you
oh
haven't
man,
done it yet, man.
I
See,
should
that's
do
why
it.
I'm like telling you no more secrets, man. You ain't executing, bro. Like,
Oh
see?
man, you're right. You're right. End podcast.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
no, I'm kidding. Um, oh yeah, what were you saying? So
What's
you started going to that, and it was
yeah,
out. You said it was out of
so
necessity
yeah, so
because
the
you realized you
value
had to
of
speak
it.
in front of.
So the value of it was, one of the things they do in Toastmasters, they count how many times you say and I mean, call them crutch words that to fill the silence of as you're trying to come up with your next thought and things like that. So help you get out of that stuff. I still do it from time. I mean, probably a lot, but it's a valuable thing, and they try to teach you to be.
Someone in the comments is going to start counting how many us you said. They're going to be like,
Well, now I'll be thinking
Toastmasters,
about
come
it.
on.
He said 27 ums. Yeah, no, he needs to go back.
How long did you go to Toastmasters?
I made it all the way through it's called a competent communicator, and then there's a competent leader. So there's two tracks of Toastmasters, and I made it all the way through the competent communicator, It probably took a year and a half, maybe 2 years to make it through all. And
So you're
it's
like a black belt.
basically, bro. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I can put you in a chokehold as I whisper things.
Do they have a lesson on how to do the weave? The weave.
They probably do now. Yeah, they probably do now. Yeah, the weave, the competent weaver.
I'm gonna figure out how to do the weave. Um, no, Travis, it's been a great conversation. I really always appreciate speaking with you and hearing your stories. I think
Absolutely.
stories are extremely powerful, and not only the wisdom that comes from the lessons and failures and successes that people have had,
Sure.
but also it's just stories are a way to show how people have actually done something. It's inspiring, and so
Absolutely.
you've been an inspiration to me, and I genuinely appreciate you coming on here for the third episode. It's always been a blast.
Hey,
I
man.
just One of the things I want to hit on is the way that I view entrepreneurship. I One of the things that we're trying to accomplish here at Kingdom Commerce is my vision. I want to build a movement of Christian entrepreneurs. I believe God can use business as an immense opportunity and a vessel for His glory to bring value, to love on other people, like you said, show up and with the posture of giving and providing
Yeah.
value. I think that's amazing. I saw something recently where it says like entrepreneurs or successful entrepreneurs have like several hundred times the amount of, I think they use the word mind share or influence than pastors do.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we get confused, either you're in ministry, you're a pastor, or you're not in ministry, you're business. I think there's an opportunity for both. What is something you would want to leave our listeners with in terms of how faith has impacted you in your business, or how you feel as though you've been able to use the business that God's given you for His glory? What is some encouragement that you could give our listeners here today?
Sure. And the biggest thing for me is, a lot of times you have all these rules you feel like you have to follow, and I got to follow this and that, and try to keep track of all these things. But I think Jesus put it succinctly: is love God and love your neighbor as yourself. If you do those two things, that covers all the other tasks and all other check marks that you need to worry about. And so, as an entrepreneur, I mean, as a Christian, you love God. That's comes with it. But love your neighbor as yourself. That means love your clients as yourself. Well, how would you want to treat them if you were a client? Love your employees as yourself. Love your partners as yourself. If you do those things, then it covers all the bases, right? So it's for me to encourage anybody. It's like, treat people the way you want to be treated, and it makes things a lot simpler when you do it that way.
No, I appreciate that, and that's those timeless principles that the Lord's given us. It proves true.
Makes life
Um,
easy, or at least
it, it
easier.
it
Yeah,
makes life easier. It gives Him glory, and it's just something that as you network and work with people, you're giving them, you're leaving them with something that is good and something that God created for good. And so
absolutely.
I appreciate you sharing that, Travis. You've been an encouragement to me. Um, any last words? What is, if you could leave our audience with one piece of business advice, maybe that's been on your mind the past week or month or so, what would that be? And then I want to start doing this challenge. I want you to ask a question to our next person who's going to be interviewed.
Oh, it's a good one. A question to the next person: what opportunities are you seeing in the market that you're actively looking to invest in right now? Yeah,
All right.
I'll be
All
interested to
right.
know that. Yeah.
Well, that means you'll have to watch the next episode then to find
Oh,
out.
oh, oh no. Oh,
Well,
hey,
Travis,
I
yeah, go
want to give
ahead.
a shout out to Red Rocket, man, to the Crown Chains. By the way, I got one of my
I
Crown
know.
Chains on, man. It's
There you go, man. I was going to say the drip is looking
hey,
nice.
man, you know what I'm saying? You gotta step out a little bit.
We got to get the Red Rocket back in the studio. Well,
Exactly,
I'll
exactly.
give him a talking to. He's been busy. I think I won't share. That'll be for him to share. But until next time, Travis, it's been a pleasure having you on. And
Absolutely.
y'all, this is Kingdom Commerce, where we do commerce the Kingdom way. We'll see you in the next episode.
See you guys. Peace.